Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today I am going talking to you about photography tripods and my top tips for them. And this isn't just about tripods themselves, this is about maintenance of your tripod and why this is absolutely vital for your photography. Because if you like your camera and if you like your lenses, then you need to maintain your tripod, because if you don't, it's going to catch you out one of these days. How often you clean out your tripod really does depend on the conditions you use it in. And as I'm a seascape photographer, I personally clean out all of my tripods roughly around every 2 months. Then again, I have about 6 tripods here that I use on photography workshops and they get absolutely wrecked with sand and grit. So come on, let's get into it and I'll explain how to simply clean out your tripod and how to prolong its life. So how do you know your tripod needs to be cleaned in the first place? Well, a simple way to do this is to extend the legs and get a tissue and wipe one of the legs with it. If the tissue has loads of residue on it, then this residue is like sandpaper and it's slowly wearing away at the locking levers or the locking rings on the tripod itself, and one day the tripod simply won't be able to hold itself anymore and over it goes, camera and all. I'm going to extend one of the legs here. We'll pick one of the bottom legs here now and we'll see how well this does. I'm going to grab some tissue paper here, just throw it back there again, and I'm going to give it a wipe. Just one simple wipe up and down. We're going to have a look to see how clean this is. And that'll give you an idea how dirty that is. That is carbon dust as such. I'm going to extend the next leg out along and see how that goes. Turn around to the other side. And that is not quite as bad. So again, I cleaned this tripod fairly recently and I've only used it in a couple of workshops, but this was the tripod I was using myself. And just a quick little tip for you, if you're using a tripod at the sea, the first thing I will tell people to do is do not extend the thicker legs first. What I will do is I'll extend the lower leg, but just by a couple of inches, and lock it up along then again. For the simple reason being is, as the water is swishing around and as the sand and whatnot there, the knuckle or the joint is actually further away from the sand, so you're less likely to get sand in it. The other thing I do then is, as soon as I get home, I get the tripod, extend out all the legs, the center column and everything else, pop it into the shower, spray it with cold water and let it dry off. That helps to get rid of the sand inside in the legs itself. The big issue with most modern tripods now is the shims, or chicken lips as some companies call them, failing or being worn away, as well as the leg locking rings too as well, of course. Now you might be thinking, what the hell are chicken lips? Well, let me show you as we strip open this tripod and I'll show you not only how you can clean it, but also what's actually holding everything in place. And by the way, earlier on you could see too as well, I had 3 different tripods here. I'm going to strip open all 3 of them to show you exactly how they're made inside, and they're all very similar. So what I'm going to do is, we're going to take off the main leg here now as such. I'm going to open out the locking lever. I keep twisting this until it actually comes loose. And I'll just slide this over here. So what I'm basically doing is just grabbing the arm and pulling it out along, and that's it. The leg is out. I will do that then with all 3 legs, and I'll take the main tripod itself then, not the legs, into the shower again and just spray water up and try and get rid of most of the debris and sand or whatever else. Now the beauty of it being is, because of the way a tripod is designed, most of the sand, dirt and debris is actually going to be in the lower section of the legs themselves. And even as I lifted it up, you can see these little shims, plastic shims, or chicken lips as they're called by some companies, just fell off. So what they do is they actually just sit on the actual tripod. You can see the little dent here, and that matches the little indent there. So that just pops in place, and the same with this one. Now you might very well be wondering, what's the purpose of these shims? Well, the actual shims, or the chicken lips, they perform one function basically as such, and that is to ensure that the tripod leg doesn't rotate or twist inside the tripod itself. You can see there's a little channel here. There's a matching notch inside the tripod leg, so if I press the 2 of these together and pop them in, it won't go in until I turn it around, and then it fits into the groove and it slides back into place. Now, the first thing you notice is when I'm sliding that in, it doesn't sound very smooth. And the reason why it doesn't sound very smooth is because of that grit or that debris inside. And that really is like sandpaper. Even if I rub this with my fingers here now, you can see I put my hand up and down along there, my fingers start to go a small bit black. And again, I only washed this and cleaned this tripod out, I think about a couple of weeks ago. I think it's about 2 weeks ago now at this stage. They're the two chicken lips. They quite simply pop off. This is the actual locking ring itself. And inside in the locking ring, if I just take these little fellas out, I'll show you the pieces. This is the frightening part. I'll show you what's actually holding your camera and lens in position, if I can get them out there now. But they simply just unclip the whole way around. And again, most cameras are the same. That's basically it. So that's what you're looking at. So basically all that happens is, that actually is over the tripod leg itself, and when you twist this back in long, there's a slight groove in that there, and that grips in, that locking ring grips in on the tripod leg. If you get a bit of dirt or debris in that, and you tighten up the actual leg itself, you think it's locked in place. But the issue is, if you move the tripod and pop it down along again, that dirt or debris might move. So then, the ring is actually loose. And what will happen is, it'll slide down, and when that slides down, the leg goes back in along, and the tripod just goes straight over. And there goes your camera and your lens in the drink, or in the water, whatever you like to call it. And that's it. You have thousands of dollars or euros worth of equipment lying on the ground. And that is why this is so incredibly important. Now, a lot of people will tell you to put, oh, you should spray some form of special grease or whatever else on the tripod legs to help smoothen it out and things like that. I would generally avoid that, and I would not go near putting anything on the tripod legs or putting anything on these locking levers, for the simple reason being is that's going to attract even more grit and more grease again. So what I normally do is, again, I'm just going to grab a bit of the kitchen paper there now, and I would just generally just clean that out on the inside and just make sure any debris is gone from there, just with a small bit of kitchen paper. And I would do the same with the rotating ring. So all you do is you just put that in and twist it around, and what that's going to do is it's going to release any grit that's actually in the rings themselves. And even though I cleaned that a couple of weeks ago, you can quite clearly see that is quite dirty already. And if I give it another wipe there now, and that should remove most of it. So that's getting most of it off. And again, I'll do the same with this. So that's the first one, let's say, right? So now we're going to open the second one. And again, it's the same thing. You just keep turning that until it comes loose, and boom, out she comes. And we're going to go for the third one here then. And again, the same with that. And this is usually the one I have the issue with. So what we need to do is, we need to get our kitchen paper and wipe this off completely again and make sure that's dry and that's clean. And what you can do with the inside of the leg here then is spray water into it, turn it upside down, and with a high power spray, spray it up inside, and it's going to help eject any of the dirt and debris inside there. But these legs are the most important ones to clean, because these are the ones that are constantly sliding in and sliding out. Now, there's a few different ways of cleaning these. Normally, I would recommend putting a cloth in through them. Getting a cloth through them can be tricky enough, but what I normally do is, where I put it, here it is, I have a little weight just on a bit of fishing wire, and what I'll do is I'll just drop that through, so it's just above and top, drop it through, and then go along and pull this, and I will put my tissue in above and top here and push that through, and I'm just going to pull this out the other end, and boom, there we go. There was actually dust coming out the bottom of that there, and you can see that is quite dirty already, even just with one pass. There's a black piece on the end here, and basically all it is a reusable cable tie that I have the fishing wire tied onto. So I can just quickly replace tissues whenever I want. I can just strap that around, do it really quickly, grab my weight and drop that through and out the other side, and boom, push that in through there. I'm going to put that roughly in shape, because the more you push that into shape, the more it's going to try and pull that dirt through. So that is getting fairly dirty now, and it's only on the first pass on that one there now. Now, as you can see, things are getting fairly messy here already. There's an awful lot of carbon coming off, and I've just checked the bottom ring here, and you can actually even hear it. You can hear that kind of gritty, grating noise going up and going down. Now, that's not because there's sand or there's grit or anything inside in the ring. That's because there was sand or grit inside in the ring. And that sand or grit is after scarring the plastic ring on the inside. So when I slide it up and down on the actual leg itself, you can hear it marking the leg over and over again. So that is going to constantly pull off carbon and dust and dirt. It's actually very slowly wearing through the tripod leg itself. So to put it all back together, let's say we've it all clean there now. So all I simply do is we get the smallest little plastic shims here and we fit them in place. Just make sure I put them in the right way around. That one was upside down. And there we go, and there we go. Now we get the next ring and we just turn that, sorry, wrong one. Now we get the next ring and we just turn that until, yeah, it locks in place and it slides in. And then we can lock up the locking lever here and away we go. Now as I'm talking about assembling this and talking about the locking rings and tightening them up and whatnot, the one thing I do myself, generally speaking, every couple of weeks when I'm out with the tripod is, I'll set the tripod up, I'll put it in position, and I'll put a nice bit of weight down the center column and see does one of the legs start to give a small little bit. If one of the legs starts to give a small little bit, I'll get a bit of insulating tape and I'll just mark it on the leg itself. If that is starting to slip, it is only going to get worse, and it is only a matter of time before you're out and the whole thing goes sideways. And it's something I highly advise you to do on a very regular basis. Now you might say, okay Kieran, that's grand, you showed me how to open this tripod. Are they all the same? Well yes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the other ones, and this is a completely different tripod here now, so I'm going to show you, and it's exactly the same thing. So if I just release the locking nut here and open this out, and I'm going to unscrew this here now again, and it's the same thing. That just comes loose, and just extend this over here and pull this out along, and again we can see the plastic shim is exactly the same principle. The only thing is it's all one piece here, so you would just angle it out on the bottom here and here if you want to take it off or replace it, and it slides out then once I do it properly. Because I don't want to break a plastic shim for my tripod. There we go. Yeah, that's it. So again, you can just pop it back in place, slides on over, same principle, little gap here, there's a notch inside, so when I want to put it back in along, it won't go back in there now. I just turn it until it fits into those grooves, slide it back in along, and job done. And here is our third tripod, and again, just to prove a point, I'm going to open this, slide this up along here again, keep opening it, and as soon as the locking ring comes loose, I can then slide it out, and again, plastic shim with that groove again that slots in along here. So these are all practically identical. They're all slightly different, but they're all very, very similar. Now those plastic shims and the actual locking rings themselves, they might seem like very small parts. You might say, oh Kieran, you can just replace them. And yes, you can. Let's say for the first tripod I opened there, I got those replacement parts. It was at last year at some stage, I ordered 6 of them. And you'd be surprised at the cost involved for those few little bits of plastic. So it really is worthwhile maintaining them. And even if you buy them and put them back in, and if you don't clean out your tripod regularly, your tripod is going to be utterly destroyed again in 6 months to 12 months of use. So this is something you just have to do. Just take into account anytime you're going out, especially if you're a seascape photographer, you have to clean out your tripod. It just simply won't last otherwise. Anyway, I hope this video was of some help to you and it helped save your tripod. I'm not expecting a lot of people to watch this video, but if it helps 1 or 2 people, then it was definitely worthwhile making the video. Thanks again for watching everyone, and see you out there. With clean tripods, hopefully.